Greetings sailors and welcome to a replay for a change. This is a match I had whilst I was playing with Atam on his stream, and I will in fact stick the link down below. That's also where you find us broadcasting the podcast live when we do that. It isn't just on my channel. And yeah, this was towards the end of the evening. We were playing some mid-tiers. In fact, we kind of been working our way down the tiers because I think this was the second last game, and then the last game traditionally on his channel is the Iconic, which is, well, he plays the Iconic, which is of course tier 5. So for this we were doing tier 6. I was in the Dunkerque, which is not the most reliable performer, and alongside Atam and myself we also have Viper Socks in a destroyer there, as you can see. Now, the Dunkerque does have some things going for it. I mean, it's one of the older premiums. It's a nice looking ship. It's fast at tier 6. The all-forward armament can sometimes be a really good advantage. But the reliability of those guns is questionable. When they do hit, they do have good penetration considering their relatively low caliber. So even against higher tier targets, you can do pretty well. But of course, they have to be showing a certain amount of broadside because you don't have really much in the way of overmatch capability. There are only these are only 330mm guns after all. This, though, is going to be one of those rare games where the RNG decided to line up for me a lot more often than not. And it's always nice, regardless of the battleship, when that sort of thing occurs. And it's especially nice when it's in a ship where the guns are just not normally anywhere like that reliable. So yeah, this is not to be taken as typical Dunkerque gameplay. I mean, the fact that it's a tier 8 game, maybe that's more typical than anything else, but the guns are going to behave very well in this game considering their usual nature. And the fact that they do have good penetration, well, that's going to come in very handy later on as well. So I've landed a couple of good hits so far. This Algeria is looking not very happy. We're pushing en masse on the C cap, and we already know that there's not that many enemies around here. We've also got the A cap, and we did have the B cap, but that's being flipped right now. The enemy team don't seem to be like they've lost a bunch of ships already. This was a game where we ended up having a lot of momentum early on, and myself and A-Town probably as a result were playing a lot more aggressively than we would have in a much closer game. But I mean, it will tighten a bit towards the end, but we will consistently stay ahead in terms of victory points. So it's not even like this was a tactically amazing game or anything like that. This was just a fun romp where RNG was very, very nice to me, and it had a very satisfying ending to it. They do have a pair of Massachusetts on the enemy team working as a division, but yeah, they're kind of waffling around in the middle. They haven't pushed any one particular cap, so we're not going to have to really worry about those until a bit later on. Now there's my second kill, in fact. It's a Baltimore that I didn't know was in the smoke. I was trying to hit the Edinburgh and instead hit the very low health Baltimore. But you know, that was kind of lucky. Surely I won't be able to replicate that with the Edinburgh. There's a lot of other things firing at this Edinburgh. And yes, they're broadside. Yes, they're in an Edinburgh. But these guns aren't that reliable. Surely they'll overpen. And no, that was... I mean, there was a couple of overpens, but that was a kill. Okay, 3 kills. 60k damage. It's not even that much damage. There's now a submarine on the flank, one of the 2 enemy subs, and I don't place my airdrop terribly well there, never mind. And while I'm distracted by that, oh hey look, there's some cruiser torpedoes. Oof. Oh well, never mind. It wasn't fatal damage, not even really anywhere close to it. I'm still at like 2/3 health, but still it would have been nice not to take that. Would have been very, very nice. Let's have another go at the sub. One thing I actually had a thought about watching this back was the fact that when you're using your airdrop armament, your turrets continue to turn the way that you're looking. And if you happen to be trying to look behind you, well, your turrets are going to continue to, like, you know, everything else is in front of you and you're trying to do an airdrop behind you, you end up with a situation like this. And yes, you can manually lock your turrets, but it kind of feels like that's something that the game should do automatically when you're using your airdropped depth charges. It should just lock the turrets in place while you're doing that. Because having to remember to do that every time is not something I ever managed to do, to be quite honest. I mean, I know that it's a functionality that's there. There's probably a lot of people that don't know that locking your turrets is a functionality that's there. And yeah, it's one of the many oversights when it comes to adding submarines to the game. In this case, ASW armament. Is that yeah, it's just that little bit of extra annoyance to deal with. So we have fairly well romped through the enemy team. There are 3 ships left: the Fuso and the pair of Massachusetts. What's the plural of Massachusetts? I don't know. I mean, there really is only one IRL, so. Yeah, they are doing a bit of damage at this point, because they're still relatively healthy. They didn't particularly push anywhere. They sort of floated nebulously around the middle and chipped in damage here and there, and now the rest of their team is dead, apart from that Fuso, and they're a bit screwed, although they are going to take some of us down before they go out. Now, because Atam's Repulse is further ahead than me, he is getting the focus right now from, I think, both of those Massachusetts and the Fuso, who is actually in a pretty good position on the flank there in terms of like, if it was just those 2 tier 8 battleships, us going towards them like this would be more or less fine. Yes, they can overmatch us, but we can try and angle a bit, but you can't angle against both of them and the Fuso with their more or less perfect flank shots. But even if we do go down, then I mean, look at the points. Like, we would have to throw this so hard at this stage to actually to lose this. And if we had, I probably would have sent this video to Jingles instead. But as it is, yeah, it's not going to be that kind of a match at all. Now, I've got a bit of HE going here. The HE is decent enough. These Massachusetts are now pretty angled towards me, so I'm going to try and set some fires, get some chip damage going. ATAM's not going to last too much longer, unfortunately. Neither of us have got that much armor, and yeah, it's actually the Fuso that gets the kill. Now it's me that's getting the attention, unsurprisingly. I've had a thought at this point, though. I've got 4 kills. We are kind of close to winning, and I'm in a fast ship with enemies in front of me that do not have enough health to survive a ramming. So you can see where my thoughts are going with this. Yes, I could be more cautious here and just slow down, angle towards people a bit, hope that RNG is nice with my AP shells, or I could absolutely guarantee that I'm going to get a Kraken and get some more damage in the process. So I did slow down a little bit while I was having the thought process, but then I was like, okay, no, I'm going for this. This is going to happen. And so this closer Massachusetts gets to be the lucky recipient of a boop. I think they tried to do a little bit of avoiding maneuvers, but yeah, there was no way they could have avoided this once I decided I was going to do it. So there we are. There's the Kraken, Confederate high caliber, I think, and a couple of the team medals as well, including the Team Kraken, because both ATAM and Vipersox also had some kills between them. So that was, I think, what, 7 kills in total for our bottom tier division in this tier 8 game? Yeah, like I said, it was just a fun romp, and it really did come down to those 2 enemy Massachusetts in that division, more or less kind of letting it happen. The Fuso was actually second place on the enemy team behind one of the Massachusetts, but I suspect a lot of the impact they had was towards the end there, when they had already functionally lost that match. So yeah, that turned out to be fun for us in our bottom tiers. It's not a situation you get to have all that often though, but it's nice when it comes together with one of these good RNG games. So that's it. That is, pure entertainment, really. I don't think there was much of educational value you could take out of that particular video, but it was certainly a fun match to play through, and hopefully it was a fun match to watch as well. It's not every day that you get to secure a Kraken by ramming a battleship that's 2 tiers higher than you in order to get it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can do all the usual things down underneath it, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.